what's up, all you team-killing fucktards? Today I want to talk RWBY, red versus blue, roses versus violets, idiots versus idiots. In fact, I've wanted to talk about red versus blue for a long time, but the problem with that was that I couldn't really think of anything to talk about. This series is pretty good, but it's also super complicated. I wanted to make a video about why it works so well despite not following traditional story structure in many cases, but the problem with that is I can't figure it out! It just works, and it works well. But while searching for an RWBY quote to recite to my friend, I reread an old speech that good old Church says in the closing scene of not just Season 5, but the Gulch Chronicles as well. Let me play it for you.
Church,
Yeah?
you ever wonder why we're here?
You know, Caboose, I used to not care. I just went along with the orders and hoped that everything would work out for me. But after all that's happened, you know what I've learned? It's not about hating the guy on the other side because someone told you to. I mean, you should hate someone because they're an asshole, or a pervert, or a snob, or they're lazy, or arrogant, or an idiot, or a know-it-all. Those are reasons to dislike somebody. You don't hate a person because someone told you to. You have to learn to despise people on a personal level. Not because they're red, or because they're blue, but because you know them. And you see them every single day. And you can't stand them because they're a complete and total fucking douchebag.
Now that was beautiful. It's great, not just because of its comedy or the message it conveys, but also because it's a big fat wrap-up to what is essentially the main theme of the Gulch Chronicles. Hate. It's all about hate. And the message it conveys is truly profound and clever. And yes, those are words you heard me saying about Red vs. Blue, a story made by a bunch of people dicking around in Halo. Let's rewind to the very first episode, to that essential RWBY question.
Hey. Yeah? You ever wonder why we're here? It's one of life's great mysteries, isn't it? Why are we here?
I'm not just bringing this up for nostalgia's sake, because once all the quipping and comedy is over, Simmons answers that essential question.
Seriously though, why are we out here? As far as I can tell, it's just a box canyon in the middle of nowhere, with no way in or out. The only reason that we set up a red base here is because they have a blue base over there. And the only reason they have a blue base over there is because we have a red base here.
Think about what this is setting up. The two armies built bases in spite of each other. Okay, so that's pretty basic. In fact, you could even say it's basic. But look at the situation. The Reds and Blues hate each other early on because they're on opposite teams. That's it. That's the only reason. It speaks to prejudice based on appearance and affiliation. But instead of taking the high road later and having them all admit to being wrong or that they've grown attached after truly getting to know each other, they instead basically explain that they all still hate each other. Nothing has changed. Or has it? Obviously you see where I'm going with this if you listen to Church. The idea that you can't hate someone unless you really know them, but if you know them, you still might hate them. It's a bit of a unique take on that whole Zootopia-style prejudice thing. What he's basically saying is that hatred is okay as long as you hate for the right reasons. And that's perfectly fair. There's something built into us after all these years of watching more traditional stories about getting along and teamwork and believing in yourself. And it leads to the assumption that all hatred is wrong or unfair. But that simply isn't true. Hatred can be entirely necessary. Sure, enough of it can destroy a person, but the same goes for every other emotion. Sometimes it's healthy. It's part of being human. And yeah, they don't really hate each other, as we see during Sarge's speech in Season 8. But it's just like being forced to grow up with siblings. You don't really hate them because you spend so much time with them, but they drive you nuts. In other words, it's Stockholm Syndrome. Really, that's what it is. They're attached to each other because of how they've been stuck with each other. Early on, they're stuck with each other because they're working in a box canyon in the middle of buttfuck nowhere. But later on, when Omega strikes, they're stuck working together because it's the only way they can survive. And so, by the end, they've learned to hate each other because they know each other, and have grown subconsciously attached to each other as well. Speaking of Omega, by the way, did I mention that he's the AI fragment of the Alpha based on rage that lashes out in an attempt to take over the world before even trying to understand a situation? He plans on destroying them without even knowing them, mirroring the way the teams fought because of prejudice at the beginning of the Gulch Chronicles. And then we get to that scene at the end. Church sees that he's still surrounded by all the same dickwits, and he realizes just how much he fucking hates them. But, as he explains to Caboose, he hates them for the right reasons. It's a healthy hatred now. I love this scene. It so perfectly encapsulates what might as well be the point of the Blood Gulch Chronicles, while also calling back to the first episode, which also set up the theme. Plus, it's freaking hilarious. I could talk about some of the themes in the later sagas of RWBY, but I think I've done my job here today. Plus, I don't have quite as good a handle on those themes. I might rewatch the later seasons eventually, but I've been trying to avoid rewatching RWBY so that I can rewatch it alongside Murder of Birds. Yeah, so toodaloo for now. I hope you enjoyed, you shitbirds.